Let's see if somehow that now on the table is cleared.
I listen to her. Nothing else matters.
You see me? Miss you.
Sorry, it was moved, but it just moved. Yes, it does.
Oh, yeah, it's okay, doing that. And I get to hide behind him. I put the hand. No. Got a raw feeling he's not having a walking up to them and he didn't want to do it, but we know. I am. He wasn't walking in ceremony. We should say it's a very good. For being a firefighter and DDA. Yeah. Yeah. We know the fire complicated. Biggest special one. That's there. Yeah. I have one. We can put it in mine. Oh my God. Should we do that? Yeah. So
The religious people and I were talking to one of them. We need to make this a special.
Let's make a difference, sorry, this was working, no, it's not.
Anything we can do?
No, it's just they need to see each other.
the dollar eyes need to face that way.
I'm going to ask the tech to move the thing to the top of the device as opposed to.
Oh, now I'm really hiding behind it. Yeah.
I can see you guys and I can hear you, but it's really muffled.
Is that better?
Here we go.
Is that working?
I think they're connected, yeah.
All better.
Hey, you're ready. Whenever you are.
You wanna move that chair, cause it's, there's some chair that can move.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, the angles are in. Oh.
Oh, the hand on your chest.
Okay.
We're ready, we can stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And as a way of respecting, honoring, and creating awareness about our past, we begin our village board meetings by acknowledging that New Paltz is on the ancestral land of Muncie, Esopus, and Lenape people. Please check out our agendas and minutes and help us add to different ways to truly support Indigenous communities.
Okay, items to add to this consent agenda, adding 4B. It's the $500 application to the Restore New York Round 8. Or to be included in the application related to the Ann Oliver House. And then also item 4C, consent order compliance remediation payment number 6 to Amity Construction. Item D, payment application number 3 for the rail trail connection to Green Meadows in the amount of $96,544.32. And we also need to add item 5, approve a change order related to BNP 233 consent order compliance sewer remediation. And was six on, was that added yesterday or was that added?
No, 6 has been on the agenda.
6 has been on the agenda.
The second hiring was added.
Right,
Yeah.
to approve hiring of Brad Gorfine to assist the village board in a part-time deputy clerk title for 18.75 hours per week at $25 per hour. Item number 8, approve planning board request to increase all application fees by $50. And item 9, approve volunteer board reappointments and appointments, A through C. I move that we accept the consent agenda as amended. All in favor? Let's jump into announcements. Alex, I bet you have announcements.
Just a few. So first, I want to share that tomorrow, Senator Michelle Hinchy's office will be basically holding office hours at the Elting Library from 11 a.m. until 3 p.m. And this is for like one-on-one support. So like, for example, if you're a senior who needs information on how to get emergency home repairs, a small business in need of a state license, you need help solving a DMV issue, or help with any other state agency, that's a good thing to stop by. Appointments are not required. So at this point, since it's tomorrow, if you need help, just stop by on your lunch break. One of the senator's team will be there, I think in community room A, but if you ask at the front desk, they'll tell you where to go. Also on Saturday, June 1st is the annual Pride March and Festival. And it will be awesome. Line up, the march kicks off at the middle school at noon. And then it'll end down at Hasbrook Park, where the festival will go until 5 o'clock. There's also after events planned throughout the community. So there's different flyers like being posted, but there's a yoga event. There's another event at Gaming Guild, and then there's a lot of music from 5 o'clock p.m. at Snugs until they close down at 4 a.m. the next day. So that'll be a pride to remember. You can get some Narcan and other harm reduction services anywhere in Ulster through Ellenville Regional's Project Rescue Program. Text ERH Rescue to 21000. So Narcan, harm reduction, supply kit, test kits, NARC kits, and sex kits. We'll also have a few groups at Pride with tons of materials like that too. Never Use Alone has an updated hotline number, so please save this in your phones, everyone. 1-877-696-1996. And you can get Narcan trainings online anytime. Opioidpreventionnp.org/Narcan-training. The free food fridge is outside Village Hall here at 25 Chapel Ave for anyone, anytime. Donations are always needed. Just make sure you label ingredients and all of that. And don't be shy about using it. And I'll leave it there for now.
Okay, so we don't have an announcement from our county legislator because she visited with us at the last meeting.
I have one too.
Go ahead.
Okay,
Two is one is if you text home to 741-741 when you're feeling depressed, anxious, or suicidal, a crisis worker will text you back immediately and continue to text with you, and you matter. So keep that handy and use it. Also keep the date of June 19th for the Juneteenth celebration, which will be from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. I believe we're starting at the Ann Oliver House next to Stewart's, and we will be marching to historic Huguenot Street and having festivities. The whole day is yet to be fully flushed out. I will share that out as soon as we get the details worked out.
any other announcements?
Just one from me, Tim, at the Elton Memorial Library is the 10th annual New Paltz Historic Preservation Commission Art Show. It's now on display in the Steinberg Reading Room. It's up until June 30th, and it features local artists showing their artworks, featuring our local landmarks and landscapes and the like. So drop on by.
So the only other announcement that we had on this agenda was we customarily hear from our county legislator at least once a month. We heard from legislator Lamina Grace Harmon last meeting, so we're gonna move on to public comment. Do we have anyone from the public, either on Zoom or in person, interested in making a comment? No? Just talk out loud. I can't.
No, we didn't amend the rest of the agenda, just the consent, but not the business.
Or approve it.
Yeah, but we have to approve it.
Okay, so business agenda. I'm gonna add item number 1. We're gonna chat with Mike Baden about his qualifications for the Director of Planning, Zoning, and Code Enforcement. And
Number 4.
number 4, 137, 145 North Chestnut Street projects, easements and pump station agreement. Do we have that information?
It's not finalized, but we should have it for the next meeting.
Okay, that's fine. So it's a placeholder for a future meeting. And then item number 5 is to authorize the mayor to sign the Harmony Hall draft sewer maintenance easement. Is that a final?
Yes, Dennis and Will sign off on it.
So are they expecting us to review it as a board and consider approving it tonight?
At the soonest opportunity.
Okay. I move that we go ahead and approve this easement.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And then item number 6, sorry, I didn't amend the entire agenda at one point. So item number 6. That's the grant application. It has been submitted. Like, what action are we taking with this item?
It's just another final submitted, that's been submitted to the state.
Okay.
Thank you.
And then item number 7 is a resolution authorizing our WIA application submission. And item number 8 has to do with the county solar and EV infrastructure grant for municipalities that was just recently released. And item number 13 involves issuing an RFP to see whether we can identify a new licensed operator for our water plant, sewer plant, and potentially town sewer district number 6, if the town is interested in working on that project with us. And then item number 15 that we're adding, sorry, item number 14 that we're adding is just an announcement that we again have an opening for a part-time parking enforcement officer. Item number 15 is Autumn Seguin's official letter of resignation and final compensation payout approval request. That's all I had for this agenda. I'd like to move that we accept the business agenda as amended.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So then let's go ahead, because we've already moved the consent agenda. Let's go ahead and ask Mike Baden to join us at the table. So Mike, we have been speaking for some time about the village interest in creating this Director of Planning, Zoning, and Code Enforcement position. It was approved by the county last October. We've had some individuals potentially interested in the position. You and I have been speaking about the possibility of you coming on board here. You seem like a fantastic candidate. What's very important is that the county job description already exists. It clearly describes the qualifications one would need to serve in this role. And I think it's crystal clear that you would qualify. Maybe we can go over some of your qualifications and to see how they exactly jive with this job description, Director of Planning, Zoning, and Code Enforcement.
Okay, have been involved in local government since 2003. Worked first involvement was chaired a committee for the town of Rochester, primarily with either the town of Rochester or the county. Chaired a committee for the town of Rochester reviewing manufactured housing parks in general. As the code was very outdated. Led a very successful update of that, which has become part of the code. Then got involved through the rewriting of the town's comprehensive plan, which was adopted in 1969 at the time. And ironically was based on a time when Route 209 was proposed by the state to be relocated to avoid the hamlets. And the entire comprehensive plan was based on that. We worked with Peter Fairweather on that. So that was a 3-year process, got that done in '06. Then moved into what was called the Code Task Force, rewriting our zoning code to match the comp plan. That was done partially through Peter, but through a consultant named Tom Shepstone out of Homestead, Pennsylvania. Did a complete rewrite of our zoning code, got to 2008, and there was a change in election, and there were 3 brand new town board members. And everything stopped, but very briefly. They formed a new committee, which was very successful. Each town board member named 2 people. And they all agreed to accept the 10 people that were nominated. I will tell you, it was one of the most pleasurable committees I've been on. I defy anybody to have walked in the room and figured out who was from what party. It was so well done, and I was made the vice chair of that committee. I was the only holdover from the previous committee. And we got it done in about 1.5 years, and that was a complete rewrite of the zoning code, the subdivision code, and the zoning map. That is the code that's still in effect in the town of Rochester now. It's been worked on again and again and again. And before I recently left as town supervisor, it was in the stages of public hearing. Also, I have consulted for other communities on comprehensive plans, freelance through Tom Shepstone, who I mentioned earlier. He contracted with me to do the demographic sections, because that's what I did on Rochester's comp plan, was number crunching. Have served on a lot of county committees, way too many to name. Been on the county planning board in my 15th year on the county planning board. My 2nd time as chair. We kind of rotated around, but I've served in every officer's position at one time or another, and have served on the executive committee for the majority of my time on the county planning board. I'm currently chairing for the legislature, the UCRA reform committee that they put together that's investigating the UCRA and in terms of how to make waste management better. And it's not to point fingers, it's just to how can we do a better job. I sit on, well, until recently, I sat on the Trails Advisory Committee, the Ulster County Transportation Council, the Ulster County EMS Committee, many others. So I've pretty much lived and breathed planning and zoning for the last 20 years. I don't have a degree in it. I always joke that I went to the school of Google. I've taught classes for the New York Planning Federation. I've taught classes for the County Planning Board. I've had other municipalities invite me to teach classes. And in 2011, I think it was, I won a state award from the New York Planning Federation. So, I think the experience makes up for the lack of degree. Yeah, so.
So grateful that you.
Hopefully the county will agree. I know the job description says a bachelor's degree and so many years experience, or a master's and so many years experience. But then there's the old catch-all of or equivalent experience. Hopefully they will review that. And however I can assist in that process. I mean, my resume somewhat speaks for itself, but the job application that you fill out for the county only asks for work experience. And it doesn't really reflect, but I don't know if you have a copy of my resume, if you look at the back side of it, you will see all the planning and zoning experience.
Yeah, I guess there's a couple of things, right? In terms of minimum qualifications, it says either A, B, C, or D. So D.
Oh, there is a D.
There is a D, an equivalent combination of training and experience as described in ABC.
Right.
So.
Yeah, and I have taken probably well over 1,000 hours of continuing education credits over the years. It's an estimate, but I think it's not a exaggerated estimate. I think if anything, it's probably under.
Yeah, I
over
think a
20
strong case can be made that, that you have a significant amount of, training and experience.
Mhm.
But I also want to ask another question. Your resume talks about a degree from SUNY New Paltz in theater arts.
Mhm.
From what I know about your professional background, your theater arts background has to do with the technical side of
So,
things.
yeah,
Not necessarily.
No, I was not an
lesbian.
No, I worked for 40 years, pretty much in the entertainment business. When I left New Paltz, I made my way to Hershey, Pennsylvania and worked at the amusement park for the summer. Went to New York when that job was over and at that time, couldn't make my break into Broadway because it was just very closed market. I did a lot of fashion shows, off-Broadway, corporate events. I was in the right place at the right time and got into the corporate business meeting market and literally traveled the world for about 15 years doing jobs, as you can see on my resume, for IBM, General Motors. If they had an event going on somewhere, I was pretty much, my background was primarily in stage lighting, but I also did overall production
So the
management.
reason that I'm focusing on the stage lighting and the technical skills that you probably studied pursuing a degree in theater arts at SUNY New Paltz
Mhm.
is because B, under minimum qualifications, it's talks about the graduation from a regionally accredited or New York State recognized college with a bachelor's degree in planning, engineering, architecture, construction, technology, or a closely related field.
Mhm.
That's it.
So
Yeah.
that's it.
Yeah. Yep.
So
And I
I feel
graduated
like you
of SUNY
qualify.
Ulster, well, which at that time was Ulster County Community College.
Right, so it seems like,
Yeah.
it wasn't correctly assessed when the personnel department was assuming that your background was in
Yeah.
performing arts, because that's what your degree in, but it actually is very much relevant to
Mhm.
this.
And in that, it was a freelance, self-employed type of situation, but I was almost always a crew chief or a manager and overseeing budget spending, crewing, it was not just as a laborer. Occasionally it was, but more often than not, as my career advanced, it was in overall management of multi-million-dollar events for these Fortune 500 companies who demanded perfection. So these were not small-scale events.
And I feel like with that kind of job too, you run into situations of having to know like ordinances and stuff too.
Absolutely.
So, yeah, you're right. That's a really good point,
Yeah.
Tim, to bring up.
Yeah, and managing people, managing projects,
Yeah.
time management, resource. And then as town supervisor, and I'm sure Tim can really say this too, you end up doing a lot of everything.
Mm.
So right, in local government, you know.
Well, the one thing I will
You
say,
do everything.
town supervisor is the only elected official that I've ever come across where you're both legislative and administrative. And it's not even, the county executive is not legislative, they're only administrative. The mayor is more legislative. Well, you don't have a village manager, but if you did, you would not be doing in your case, you probably do. But places like Ellenville, Saugerties, those villages have village managers, the mayor is the legislative, but the manager is doing.
Yeah, we're both legislative and administrative.
Yeah, but my research shows me that that's fairly unique. So it's really the only elected position that I've ever come across. Then also, I served one term on the school board, had to step down from that because New York State has a law that a town supervisor specifically named can't be on a local school board. Only that position.
I never knew that.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
So I was crazy enough to try to fight it briefly, and then I said, what are you doing? And there's no way I could have done both, but at the time I was being a little, saying, yeah, sure, I can do both. And, in hindsight, there's no way, but that, you can be any other elected official,
Interesting.
but it's specifically named as a town supervisor.
I don't think you can be, on a village board and be in another elected.
Oh, maybe not. Maybe
You
not.
also can't be.
You can be a town board member though and be
The
on,
county charter won't
Yeah.
allow you to be an elected legislator and serve in another, as an
Okay.
elected role.
yeah, yeah,
Because if they're written in individual, like that's written in the
Yeah,
county charter, it's
yeah.
written in the village state law.
yeah. But you can be a town board member and be on a school board.
School board, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's interesting, right,
Yeah.
yeah.
And there is no, not to digress, but there really is no conflict because one has no administrative powers over the other, but somewhere along the way, somebody, my guess is annoyed somebody and they wrote a law against it.
That's usually how.
At least that's my theory.
Yeah.
So are there any questions I can answer for you guys? I mean, I know many of you, some better than others, but Bill, you've been on the county planning board, I don't know, probably
8 years.
8, yeah, quite a while, and so. And if there's any, expansion, if you need from me to send to the county, I can certainly do that. I kind of wish, honestly, that the test was available, because if the test was available, I'm confident I would do well in it. But we all know this is a position that probably there won't be a test for quite some time.
Right, so the path would be to appoint you provisionally.
Provisionally, correct,
And, then have you take a test.
yeah.
Yeah.
When and if they ever get around to it. As the supervisor, we had an assistant recreation director that we waited 5 years before the test was finally offered.
As I said before, we're incredibly fortunate here. I feel like we won the lotto.
Well, thank you. I hope I can, fulfill your expectations, but Tim and I had started talking about it earlier, and then I decided to run for election again, and, but decided it was not something I wanted to continue, so.
Understandable.
Yeah, I think the word I used when Tim brought this up was like, oh, he's iconic, so.
Well, thank you.
Wow,
I'm flattered. I really am.
wait until Lauren Thomas takes your photo. She makes everyone look good,
Oh, well,
right?
okay.
Well, I would just like to add that in the years that I've served on the Ulster County Planning Board, Mike's qualifications are on display each and every meeting. He's a very valued and respected member of that board, and thank you for this.
No, thank you.
So I'd like to put, as a placeholder at the very last item of this evening's agenda, an additional public discussion on this topic, but I don't want to do anything right now.
Okay.
Because we'll go into executive session, we can, speak about a couple of things personnel related. But I don't want to take any action at this point of our meeting.
Okay,
Thank you so much for
no
coming
problem. Thank you. No,
and joining the table.
yeah, no, I wanted to put a face with a name with each of you, so thank you.
Thank you. See you later.
So, number 2 within our business agenda, we have the consolidation of town and village RFQ Craig grant application. So this is the draft one pager that has existed for some time. So we have a draft IMA with the town that's currently being reviewed by our attorney, and then we're gonna review that as a board and look to share that with our colleagues. So this is the IMA related to paying for the consultant and being in agreement with the applicant. So I don't really have anything to change regarding that topic. And there's no action to take, it's more just a placeholder on this application for now. Do any of us want to share anything? I mean, basically, it's a placeholder, and the current update is that the IMA is on our attorney's desk, and we should have a final version to consider at the next meeting.
Great.
Yeah,
Sounds good.
the only thing I wanted to point out was that we had changed it to board initiated consolidation. Some people were still saying coterminous, and I wanted to make sure that everything was clear that we had changed that.
Well, that's my personal bias, but this will all be chewed on and
Right.
discussed. When we're
The consultant.
thinking about it with the community and with the
Yeah.
consultant, so I don't really actually think it's particularly important. I mean, like, what's important is that that's a great first draft,
Mhm.
whether we use the word terminus or consolidation is a little bit insider baseball at this point.
Okay,
But yeah,
thank you for
solidarity
clarifying
with you on that, like I'll use the same word that Tim refers to.
that. Yeah, like, I think it makes more sense, but of course, we will change it based on what everybody works on together, and as it should be.
Yeah, there's going to be numerous confusing words
Yeah, oh my God, yeah.
along the way. This
Mhm.
is just one of many.
Yeah, I was thinking, I started making myself like, not to get too tangential, but I started making myself like a glossary doc on this issue. So maybe I'll clean that up and share with everyone, because it might be helpful.
Yeah.
Thanks, Alex.
Yeah,
Okay, and then, so I put together some points that I want to include in a request letter to the New York City DEP. And, the first item is related to the current reimbursements that we're seeking. So the intergovernmental agreement that we have with the DEP states that once we get permits from the DEC for the development work for any wells that we actually want to spend money and connect to, because we actually rolled the dice to a certain extent and developed wells that were not developable, because their yield was below the threshold that probably makes sense to invest money in. So we eat those costs. But the agreement that we had with the DEP is that we would get reimbursed for these wells that are developable. And the line in the sand was once the DEC greenlights them as possibilities. So we're currently in the stage of, we have selected a construction firm to connect the 4 wells up at Mountain Rest Road to our water treatment plant. We would have also loved to have connected the 2 wells at Memorial Pool Park so that we would end up with, more resiliency. I mean, that's the general concept that we're trying to pursue here by having more local water as opposed to what we've done historically, where we buy 60% of our drinking water from the Catskill Aqueduct. So this would allow us to augment the surface water wells or the surface water ponds up at the Mountain Rest property with 4 groundwater wells at that property, as well as 2 groundwater wells at Memorial Pool. So the IGA that we have with the DEP is for $2.3 million. So that agreement was made several years ago, prior to COVID, prior to everything becoming infinitely more expensive. So $2.3 million does not develop or connect 6 wells.
Yeah.
We're going to actually have to borrow some additional money to get the 4 wells online. So we have been told informally by the DEP that they don't want to give us the money for the 2 wells that we paid to develop at Memorial Pool Park because we don't have an immediate path to connecting them. And my response to that is, well, you could give us another $1.5 million and we could connect them. Because if we could, we would, but the other option is to continue to raise water rates in our community and try to pay for them that way, or bond for more money and pay for those financing costs. So I have this wish list style letter that includes asking for more money from the DEP, and then simultaneously I wanted to include 2 other important asks. For one of the other things that has really boiled my potatoes since 2018 is how we have spent all of this money and we have been patiently waiting for reimbursements while we meet certain thresholds like getting approvals from the DEC or waiting for the construction world to return to the way it was in 2019, waiting for engineers to finalize reports. So we've spent $380,000, no, several hundred thousands of dollars, and then have had to service that debt, because what we do is we use bond anticipation notes and then we just keep rolling them over every year. So we basically have a bunch of debt that we've been responsible for, and then been responsible for paying those interest rates. And unfortunately, because I was a baby mayor at the time, when I agreed to those IGAs, I didn't know that we probably should have also included a request to get reimbursements for all the interest charges. But part of it was also crystal ball stuff, right? Like we didn't know that it would take years and years and years. And then we're now in a new interest rate environment where it also is very different. And that the costs are more significant. So, I tally up the interest rate expenses, how much it costs us to hire a bond attorney, how much it costs us to hire a financial firm to put out the subscription documentation. And, we're a hair under $100,000 in terms of how much we've spent just because we're waiting to get reimbursed from the DEP. So I would like to formally ask that the DEP pay us for what we have been charged so far, and then also to update or amend our IGA so that we would be reimbursed for any future expenses. Additionally, my friend Mike Baden, who was just with us, was the president of the Supervisors and Mayors Association for the last couple of years, and it's a group where the mayors and the supervisors get together and we compare notes and share experiences. So a note that has been shared with me more recently, the supervisor from Marbletown and I were talking about our shared experience of working with the DEP, and he said that one of the things that he has in his current IGA is that he gets reimbursed for staff time to for his staff, because it is such an arduous and challenging process to chase down money. And so I took some language based on their IGA and I updated it based on what I think would be equitable. And then I also include another request for us to get some retroactive reimbursement for the last couple of years. So it's really those three things that I would like to put in a DEP request letter, just to remind them again that their friends in New Paltz actually pay attention to this stuff. And a few $1,000s to us is very different from a few $1,000s to the city of New York.
Yeah.
So these are my notes. I'm gonna massage this a little bit further into an official request letter. So what I'm looking for from this board is just approval to, complete this exercise and to send this letter to the DEP and to make it public.
Second.
Any questions, further discussion?
No, just
Thank you.
thank you for, all the connecting you keep doing so well with other municipalities, because like recycling other bits of language and ideas from other, New York City water host communities, if you will, like it's so vital. So thank you.
And I believe the town of New Paltz is in a similar situation. I should probably reach out to the former supervisor, because from what I understand, that before Neil took his new job, that he was in the midst of trying to push the DEP to try to provide some retroactive reimbursement for all the debt that he's been sitting on and servicing for the last 4 years related to Water District 5.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that impacts all of us.
Absolutely.
So you know, it's another example of like where we should be comparing notes, and working collaboratively on behalf of all of the village residents and our neighbors within New Paltz. So all in favor of submitting this letter? Aye. And then, item number 4, 137 and 135 North Chestnut, we have easements and pump station agreement, so that draft has been circulated. We're gonna take a look at that and then include it on the next agenda. Item number 5, I think when I was amending the agenda, I already approved it.
Mhm.
Item number 6 is primarily just an announcement, correct, that we have submitted it. It meaning the application to New York, Restore New York Round 8 for the Ann Oliver House.
Look great.
Autumn, thanks for shepherding that through.
Yeah, thank you, Autumn.
And item number 7 is I actually had I think a good conversation trying to connect a lot of dots with staff from Congressman Ryan's office this week, and we were talking about this application in particular. This application to WIA includes replacement of several water mains within our community, but the most important thing in my mind within this grant application is that we connect the dead end at Sunset Ridge to the dead end at the north end of Huguenot Street. That will just be very valuable as far as making water flow and where we could end up with less risk of tuberculated groundwater, water main breaks, and the risk of the Dewsney School needing to shut down whenever those water main breaks do occur on North Chestnut. And over the last several years, there have been many breaks, but we also have very encouraging news to share in terms of North and South Chestnut. So from South Side all the way to Sunset, we're going to get a brand new water main, and that will cost nearly $4 million when you include construction, engineering, design. So it's a 1.3 million, or I'm sorry, 1.3 mile long stretch for about $4 million. Some of that is being paid for by an award that we received several years ago by the same WIA process. A lot of that is being paid for with local money. So we're gonna, you may recall from a couple of meetings ago, we borrowed another $1 million to pay for this project because we had considered only doing North Chestnut and kicking South Chestnut out. But I think it's really important that we just bite the bullet and get this done. And then we can also, again, publicly thank the county for making some of the ARPA money available to municipalities, because we did receive a grant award to the tune of $500,000 that we will be applying to this $4 million North and South Chestnut section of projects. So this WIA resolution is just authorizing our submission. The grant application is due June 14th. This is a relatively easy grant application because all we're doing is taking last year's application that we did not get an award for and resubmitting it. All in favor, or someone want to second it? All in favor?
Aye. Can I just add for
Yeah.
anyone listening, any piglets maybe, that WIA is Water Infrastructure Improvement and Act. For some reason, Act is included in it. I don't know why. That's all.
Yeah. And it's administered through the EFC, the New York State Environmental Facilities Corporation.
Yeah.
Next item is the county again is looking to share some of its ARPA money, which I think they received 33 million bucks. So they use some of it on county projects, but they've also had a few different programs. So there was the recreation program. So we got a $100K award that we're going to apply towards the ball courts on Elting, $500K award for the North and South Chestnut water main. And now this is another program where they're going to ask for municipalities to apply for a $100K award. And this will include a match. It's generally a 50% match. So 50% of the project, so your project has to be at least 200K to get a 100K award. That's no problem for us because we have a project where we're looking to spend probably $600,000 by siting solar panels on our fire station. So this is mostly just an announcement that we're going to apply. I think the deadline is relatively soon, but it's also
July 6th.
July 6th, but it's a fairly manageable application process. So no action to take on that. It's more of just an announcement and just, you know, that's a placeholder and we'll probably have some action that we need to look at a subsequent meeting. Item number 9 is, this is gonna be like the death of me project. So we got a $201,000 grant award. This is federal highway money. Actually, when Jason West was the mayor, and part of that program actually includes repairing sidewalks on Huguenot Street. We have an agreement with Historic Huguenot Street that said those sidewalks should have been done by December 31st, 2008. I was still in elementary school back then.
Well, we were not.
I'm just kidding. This project, we've spent now $80,000 using a local engineer to jump through a bunch of Federal Highway Administration hoops, New York State DOT hoops to make sure that we have a project that will meet all their requirements and specs. And this includes things like construction inspections, where the low bid to do this 1,300 foot project was nearly $140,000. And fortunately, the county had some extra federal money called carbon reduction funds, and they have agreed in principle to provide us with $145,000 towards this project. That money still also requires a 20% match. So does the original $201,000 grant award to do these sidewalks. So our engineer is not interested in doing this type of work and is actually advising us not to do it. Like we've gotten to the point where if we had simply just done these sidewalks on our own, it would have been infinitely less expensive than actually using any of this grant money. But now that we've built this Frankenstein of a project, we're kind of stuck with it. And the counsel that we've received from the planning department at the county, who are super supportive and as helpful as possible, it's just like, we have some more carbon reduction funds, you could apply for more of that money. So what I did is I penciled out how much that the recent bids were for the sidewalk project that we're doing on Prospect Street, and I applied that to this project, and then also included the premium for Bluestone, because that's what we have to do per New York State SHPO down at Huguenot Street. So this project is like approaching $500,000 in construction alone, just for 1,300 linear feet. Then you got engineering, then you have contract administration, you know, it's like, I think the total number is like $760,000 for 1,350 linear feet. So I created this.
763,260, so, yeah.
Yeah, so I basically wrote, I stayed up last night until 11, and I wrote this expression of interest letter to the DEC, or to the Ulster County Transportation Council, formally requesting additional carbon reduction program funds. So all the numbers are there.
Yep.
And that's basically the guts of this letter. So I move that the board authorize me to
Second.
officially request. Second, any further conversation?
Thank you for working so hard on this, and, you know, now that we've learned better, perhaps we'll not get involved in things like this, I don't know.
Um,
I don't know if there's any way around it.
There's no real way around it. Municipalities, when you do sidewalks,
It is what it is.
it's insane.
This
Ugh.
is, yeah, this is how it is across the state, you know?
Why can't we make it better? It doesn't make sense.
Yeah, we could do socialism better in the
Yeah.
future, but for now.
I mean, that's fine, you know, it's like, it wasn't just hyperbole when I said that if you did the entire village of New Paltz, it's like many tens of millions of dollars in sidewalk alone. And I'm gonna pencil out that same number based on the $4 million for 1.3 miles of North Chestnut Street. So I know how many miles of water main we have, and I'm gonna gross that up
Mhm.
and share that publicly this week.
Thank
Oh,
you.
that would be a big help, yeah.
Because that's exactly what every community is facing.
Yep.
You know, I remember years ago being at an event with the president of the Environmental Facilities Corp. And she's a very nice woman, super smart woman, lives in Tarrytown, and you know, she knew exactly what I was talking about. She's like, yeah, we have the same problem with tuberculated, you know, pipes filled with tuberculated material in our old cast iron water mains.
Fun times.
All right, so that letter's gonna get submitted. All right, so then the next item on this business agenda is I move that we close the capital project for the water treatment plant.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I move that we authorize and approve the treasurer to transfer an additional 500K to the fire reserve fund for future equipment purchases.
It says 50,000.
Thank you. 50,000.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
I move that we adopt the resolution of budget mod / amendment.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And then the next item is, so a bunch of years ago, I worked on a draft RFP to, for New Paltz to receive proposals from licensed operators for our water plant, sewer plant, and then I think it would make a ton of sense if we did this collaboratively with the town, because they use a licensed operator, they're required to by DEC law, to have someone manage town sewer district 6. So I feel like our RFP should basically say, hey, world of licensed operators, send us a proposal to do these 3 things.
Yes, please.
So I guess I don't know exactly who to reach out to at the town at this point. I could put together a draft and just include town 6 in it, and we could almost do it as an alternate, or we can ask the board how they want to do it, but
Okay.
I will,
Like, they might be having a meeting tomorrow. They're gonna have a couple meetings coming up at random times in the next
yeah,
coming days, so,
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know.
I mean,
Yeah.
we should probably get some joint meetings on the
Yes, please.
calendar also for consolidation discussions that will be starting back up once we iron out the details regarding the IMA.
That would be great.
Necessary.
And then we've had this job description and then
Sorry.
I'm sorry.
That was the vote.
Oh,
Did I get a second?
there's
Second.
no action to take. I gotta
confirm the town.
clean up the RFP and get the town
Thanks.
okay with that idea. Yeah, no problem. Parking enforcement officer, part-time job. This is actually, you know, an okay paying job. It's like something in the low $20 per hour. Part-time. We're definitely looking for some help. Probably a good time of year to reach out and see if there might be people interested in doing this work. So I can share the job description and the dollar amounts with all of us, and
And we'll put on post on social media and stuff too.
Yeah.
I definitely can think of a few people, some former government interns looking for things to do for pay while they figure out how to do their next steps in life, so.
and so no action to take, just that's a placeholder item that we should make a concerted effort as
Mhm.
board members to get the word out that we're looking to add someone in that role. And then item number 15, Autumn Seguin, who has been our project manager and worn entirely too many hats, but did a really tremendous job serving our village. A lot of our volunteer board members, our board, community members, applicants, everyone who has heard the news has definitely said that they're gonna miss Autumn immensely. Personally, I'm super disappointed that she's leaving, but I'm also super excited and supportive of Autumn pushing herself and saying, you know what, maybe I need to look into the grad program, you know, regarding 3D printing at SUNY or, you know, something arts related, you know, it's like all of us know that we're supposed to push ourselves and consider other things, and a lot of times it's easier said than done. So she's gonna try to do that. So I commend her for taking that leap. And you know, we have her through the end of the month, and we have a couple of new people coming in. She's gonna do her best. And then we've also talked about the idea of having one-off projects, kind of the same way that we work with Ariana, where it's kind of like grant administration, kind of like wrangling sheep type work.
Think she already did.
Consultant work, that, you know, she's uniquely good at. And, it'll be great to still have you involved in roles along those lines.
Yes, please, and thank you. And so, hope you like.
Yeah, thanks, Autumn. You joined us during the global crisis and
Well, I've already
all
applied.
that.
Thank you so much for we were just incredibly fortunate that this worked out for this time period. And we all appreciate, you know, as I said in my response to your letter, your intellect, your honesty, your moral character, your sense of humor, your keen eye for details, tech savvy, your judgment. I've learned from you and with you, and it's been a gift, and I trust you to make good choices, and I'm so excited for the things that you have coming in the future.
Thanks, Autumn. Bills and claims, I would like to move that resolution. All in favor? Bill, how was your planning board meeting last night?
It was a very good meeting last night, Tim. 7 Prospect Street, the addition was approved. There was a deck presented before the planning board. There's a very interesting development at 218 Main Street. The building's been constructed and what was going to be offices is now going to be a bakery, a vegan bakery.
Only a vegan bakery?
Right here, yeah. They're based in Poughkeepsie. And, you know, a couple of people said, oh, I know that bakery, it's great. They do,
That's the one that backs up against the middle school property?
yeah, that one, big glass windows.
Yeah.
Modern.
Yeah.
Very, I don't know.
So is it retail or are they gonna be making
There, you can go
Stuff.
in there and bake and.
both?
Right, breakfast, brunch.
Oh,
They didn't, I don't
yes.
think she went as far as lunch, but, you know, pretty close to that. And apparently vegan bakeries of this sort are a destination
Yeah.
place to go among
Yeah.
people who are vegans. So, that'll be a terrific addition to our main street. Then 11 Water Street came up and the bulk of the conversation was regarding a couple of parking spaces and what to do with it and whether or not some need to be land banked. And that is a very quick synopsis of last night's meeting.
Thank you. Thank you.
What's coming down the pipe in terms of like New Pulse Apartments, right?
You're
They're,
right, that's coming out. I think next plan will be something like that.
Probably doesn't stay.
Yeah.
Second, yeah.
okay.
That's a big distinction. Of course.
I think we'll do.
Oh, that's coming.
Keeping an eye on that. That's a big one.
And then, Autumn, help me with the ZBA meeting from last week.
The ZBA voted to approve the area variance for 2729 Main Street for the gym.
Oh, right, because the the size of the use was larger than the existing zoning
Yeah,
permits.
3,000 square feet is permitted and they want almost 6,000 for the gym.
Which kind of makes sense, because gyms are larger, right, like. That would not make sense if it was a retail space,
For the bank.
Right,
yeah,
and then they also approved a resolution to draft resolution to approve the area variance for Scribe Chapel so that they can serve alcohol in their venue, which is at 3B Church Street, where Arrowwood Farm Brewery used to be.
I went in that space recently, it's
So
really
cool.
beautiful.
Yeah.
It's like weirdly, like, it feels like you're not in, I don't wanna say this, it feels like you're not in New Paltz.
It feels like you're in Prague.
Yes.
I was saying
exactly.
that to the
I wanna
owner
check
the other
that out.
day, yeah.
Like the way they use that rock feature in the back of the room, just like cleaned it up, it's so clever.
Yeah, they had a good event there not that long ago, that was like really well attended. Like,
Yeah, it's a cheap way to visit Prague, yeah.
it really is, it really, really is.
That's cool that they got their variance, or,
They'll do the final vote at the next meeting, but they're.
That's exciting. Docs finally have a space to hang. Yes.
and then, we also had meaningful conversation about community, is that? Anything, I think that was your suggestion.
Just so you all can talk.
Okay.
Talk about what's going on, talk about.
Talk about anything that was not already on the agenda.
Yeah.
Okay.
That was my last contribution to my little.
Nice.
Nice. Very autumn contribution and why we love you.
Yeah.
Talk about what
One
you're
of the
talking
many-
about. Yes.
I mean, I can say I believe that we just are really looking forward to, the supervisor position being figured out and more cooperation between all government entities and New Paltz, and the wider community as well, and having joint meetings again and working on consolidation and learning and growing with each other, and I certainly know that we would like to try to continue to find out more about what happened on May 2nd
Yeah.
and do everything that we can to help our community heal, especially those who were so directly affected by the events of May 2nd, and to do everything we can within our power to ensure something like that never happens again through our collaboration with SUNY, with the college, as well as with other government entities. And, we're just gonna continue with the process of learning, and hopefully we can put something together where everybody can hear each other and find ways to not make those mistakes.
Yeah, on the May 2nd issue, so an organization called Local Progress that like connects electeds on, the local level, they're actually nationally recognized, but, put out a statement, and their leadership's already been in conversations with Attorney General Tish James about this, like kind of like on behalf of like outrage, like for what our community went through that night, where like 2% of our entire population got arrested in one night before my eyes. That's huge.
Big action. Right?
Yeah, it's a big action, and it has to be looked at. So, and then because that also happened the same exact time that SUNY Purchase had the same thing, like there's a lot of electeds on all levels, like all over the country, kind of like looking at like what happened in New York State that night. I'll keep everyone posted about, what, if anything, Local Progress learns, from the Attorney General on that end. I figured that would be kind of the best way I can kind of help get more information, is using my activist connections. So,
Thank you.
Yeah.
Was there a response to the letter sent to Tish James' office?
yeah. Yeah, and there's a lot of court appearances coming up and whatnot. Most of them that happened already were postponed because it was so many arrests, people were brought to 7 different locations, all the barracks in the county were filled. Then they started utilizing random spaces like a Sophus Town Hall. So all the charges didn't even get conferred to the district attorney in time for the first few, hearings and
Yeah, I
stuff,
was there
so.
in court that night, so I.
Yeah, so it's gonna be an interesting drawn out thing because it was so huge for the area that we live in especially.
There are at least
Yeah.
2 different dates coming up, depending on who the attorney was, who was representing different groups. There were at least 3 different attorneys that I saw
Yeah,
that night.
yeah, so yeah, I think we should definitely continue to think about different ways to plug away at getting that information. You know, I've been really focused honestly on that end, like safety at the Pride event is like
Yeah.
even bigger, so I guess I should have shared this sooner, but thank you for putting this agenda item on and prompting me. So I've been working, you know, with our local police, and different organizations and stuff. Like we have safety marshals that are volunteers that are, you know, just neutral peacekeepers, that New Paltz Police Department will be meeting with on Tuesday night, and we're doing a training. We're gonna get everyone Narcan trained too. So like, everyone can be ready for every possible worst case scenario. I've been working with, our contact Caitlin from the New York State, Department of Emergency Services, like every step of the way on this before May 2nd even happened, you know, just because it's the time we live in, and, also, you know, why not just be really prepared for everything? And so she's been working on materials to give to other communities for their prides, basically based on like our, you know, report backs, back and forth. She might be coming down on Tuesday to help with this, training. We have a volunteer who is volunteering some of their services. They work as a like de-escalation trainer, is going to also offer those services to all of our volunteers and all of that. I've reached out to and been working with the Women in Black for Peace, who keep their vigil, every single Saturday outside Elting at that time. And since there's been a lot of counter protesters coming, I was like, what are we gonna do? So they're amazing. They're like, we want to march with Pride, and then we'll, after the parade, the march comes through, then we'll do our vigil thing separately. And spread the word about that too, so that counter protesters know, if you want to counter protest the Women in Black for Peace, you do that after 1 p.m. Yeah.
Pride March is done. We're in the.
Yeah, so, those are just, you know, some things that are related. Oh, and then even like, reached out and spoke with the sheriff. He agrees with me on this. His Oracle obviously is gonna be part of Pride. That's important. Because we want to get everyone the harm reduction services they need, and we love and are grateful for our county sheriff, for shepherding something like Oracle. And I'm glad they're part of it, but I expressed to the sheriff, you know, considering May 2nd, like police types in the park at Pride might actually make some of us have breakdowns, me included. And so if you can just make sure to make it, the social workers that are part of Oracle are the front facing people. And Juan was like, hear you,
Thank you
agreement,
so much.
yes. So again, very grateful for our different partners in every level of government for getting it.
Yeah.
Thanks for that update.
Yeah, but that doesn't have to be all that is part of this agenda item is, it was just my update on that.
Right. Something that's like just a weird little technical thing that probably like Terrence or Mike already knew, but it only like sunk in when I was at NICOM in one of the breakout sessions. And this is just in terms of like how meetings run. So I knew that if you're serving on a board and there's like a vote, you can't abstain, right? Like you can recuse yourself if you have a reason, but I've seen many elected officials do this where they don't want to be involved in a difficult vote. Like you can't do that. But I really appreciated how the attorney from NICOM said, that if you don't vote, that's a no vote.
Mhm.
I never kind of
Ah.
put that together.
I need to.
I knew that you couldn't do that, but if you do that, that's what that is.
Okay.
Yeah,
Thank you for the clarification.
I didn't know that.
you have to be not present.
Yeah,
That's why there
I've
was-
seen other elected officials go to the bathroom.
Yes, I was gonna say, you remember that situation in 2019 with a bunch of our senators that went to the bathroom
Yeah.
for a certain,
Oh.
one part of the vote. No, I supported that. It was fine. Cause it was smart, but that's
But
why
you
they
can't
did
sit
it.
here and go, I abstain.
Yeah.
That's not a thing.
You gotta time your,
You gotta say like, I don't wanna vote because it's really hard and I don't want anyone to like know how I feel. Like this is why you're here. So, all right, I didn't have anything else. Okay. Oh, yeah, I moved that we go into executive session to discuss, an official reason with our
Yep.
personnel.
Stevie can't join us, I'm guessing.
no.
I wanted to make sure.
You could probably call her.
Grab my phone, it's all you talking about.
Yeah.
I'm going to put the Zoom on mute.
8:17. Second.
Yeah, and we're gonna take that.
People have action.
You gave.
Bill did it, I seconded it, and you're gonna take action.
Take action.
So, I move that we, hire Mike Baden in the position of Director of Planning, Zoning and Code Enforcement for $77,000 per year plus benefits starting May 28th.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. Thank you, Mike.
Anything else, or should we adjourn?
I think we adjourned. Happy birthday, Sana.
When's your birthday?
Today.
Today.
My birthday.
I knew it was this week.
No, it's today. Am I older than you? We're born the same year. When is your birthday?
I'm 76.
No, I'm 70. What's the same year I thought, no?
I'm 76 years old.
No, you're not.
On that note, motion to
Who's
adjourn.
older than you?
All in favor? No,
Aye.
I'm 70 as well.
Yeah.
So you're.
I'm May
6
22nd.
months older than me.
Okay, I'm older than you. I move we adjourn.
We did.
Second, let's go. Oh.
Like.
Good night.